Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I'm just made this short video because quite a few of the comments, because some of the videos that I've put out recently, I put a video out about what it feels like to be an empath. Of course, all the videos I put out there are about true crime. Last week, the Morel Sturrock case and the fact that her partner who killed her, he was suffering from mental health issues. A lot of you have made comments about mental health and about your own mental health, and it's thank you so much for sharing, because I think it's important to be open about your struggles with mental health. I don't think there's anybody who hasn't had some sort of struggle with mental health. Some people talk about it more than others, that's all. And of course, mental health struggles can lead to either violence to yourself or to another person. So it's important that they're dealt with. Any issues you might have for whatever reason, there's all sorts of reasons. And I'm not an expert, and I'm not coming on here saying I'm any kind of expert. I'm not giving any advice in that sense. But there is something that I wanted to share with you, because this is something that happened to me and literally saved my life. So I think, at my advanced stage now, there's bound to be sometimes during your life things that happen, things that have happened to me in my life, and I'm not complaining about them. Worse things have happened to other people, but particularly things that that I've talked about on other videos. But over the last I'm probably 7 years, there was an issue running through my life that is probably the worst thing that I've ever had to deal with, and that there were times. Now, I'm going to say touch wood now, because I don't know, this particular issue, it's one of those things that will never be fully resolved. It's not so much to do with me as someone, that I care about, but indirectly then the problems they were having influenced me. And I think that is the closest that I have ever come, to literally taking myself away from this world. And I think all of us, maybe those thoughts when we're going through a bad time for one thing or another. I mean, when you're young, I think they go through your head a lot, because everything's so dramatic, isn't it? Everything's so important, which, when you look back, for when you were a teenager particularly, is why I think it's so dangerous for teenagers. Everything is so important, and when you look back, you think, oh gosh, was I really so upset over that? But you were at that time. It was the most important thing in the world, and teenagers' mental health is especially vulnerable, I think, and then especially if it's accentuated by substance abuse or alcohol abuse or anything like that. So obviously in my life, one way or another, through things that have happened, I've had times when I've been down. I don't know if I'd say I'd been depressed. I don't really know what being depressed means. For me, I mean, I don't think I've ever suffered from clinical depression, as it's described. I have felt depressed at times, but I wouldn't say I've ever suffered from clinical depression. But with this issue that was going on, as I said, that's the closest that I ever came to actually planning, thinking what I would do, how I would do it. Everyone would be better off without me. All those thoughts that come into people's heads. And what literally saved my life, and I mean that, I'm not trying to be over dramatic when I say that, it really did, because I was breaking down, and I actually, in the end, one day I broke down in class while I was teaching Spanish. And one of the I get upset, as you know, I get upset when I talk about emotional things. One of the students that was in that class was sort of a friend as well as a student. We'd started spending some time together. she's not here anymore. I don't mean anything's happened to her, but she lives in a different place. But so after the class we were going somewhere to do something. I don't know, I was taking her to show her something in this area. And so, we got talking because I had literally burst into floods of tears in the class. Because this situation that was unfolding around me, it was I was receiving messages during classes. It was just a terrible, terrible time, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. But I was trying to deal with it, and I'd been trying to deal with it for a couple of years, really, trying to deal with it myself, because I'm that sort of person, a bit of a control freak, if you like, in that sense. I like to be independent, that's just me and the way I am. And she turned around to me and said, she said, when I decided I was going to learn to speak Spanish, I wanted to learn Spanish, I didn't try and do it myself. I came to you because I wanted a professional to help me to learn Spanish. She said, you're trying to deal with a situation that you don't know anything about, and you need a professional to help you to deal with that situation. And, it might seem like really silly, but that was like a revelation to me. I thought it's true. If you're ill, you don't try and diagnose yourself. You go to the doctor and you go for tests, blood tests, or, if you need legal help, you go to a solicitor or you go to a lawyer. You need professional help. You need someone who knows. You can't know how to deal with this. That's why you feel so helpless. So because you don't know how to deal with it. One, because you're actually in it anyway. So even perhaps if you were a psychologist or a doctor, when it's actually you that it's happening to, that's not the same, is it, as when it's happening to somebody else and you can take a detached view of it. I noticed that when I've interpreted for people at hospital, and I've thought, even though I speak Spanish, maybe if I was actually ill, if it was me who was the one who was ill, I might need to take somebody with me, because you don't really listen to what people are saying. You're so caught up in, the fact that it's happening to you. Maybe you've been given a horrible diagnosis, maybe cancer or whatever, and it must be like white noise. You're not really listening to what they're saying to you. But if you take somebody with you, they can, listen more objectively. And when she said this to me, honest to God, it was like a light bulb going off. And I thought, why am I trying to deal with this myself? Because I'm thinking I can cope with anything. I'm a strong person. I've been through a lot. I can cope with anything. I couldn't cope with this situation. And that's what I did. I went to seek help for me and the other person. And we received help. And it saved my life. I mean, it wasn't an overnight process. It's still an ongoing process now. But it helped. It helped me be strong. Because sometimes as well, when you're trying to be strong for someone else, you forget about yourself, because it brings up every experience that we have. Like, you might have an experience that people might say to you, I don't know why you think that that's so important. It's just a little thing. But that little thing that you're experiencing, it might resonate because of something big that has happened in your past. It's like PTSD, isn't it? Post-traumatic stress disorder, or whatever. Something totally that, if it was just that in isolation, and you hadn't experienced other things before, because your whole life is about your experiences. The person you are, you're conditioned by the experiences you've had. Unless you go and seek help to resolve issues and things, that's always going to be the way. And I think it never really goes away. So I've forgotten where that thread was going there. Yeah, so what might seem like even like a small thing, if it's affecting you in some way, perhaps because of something that happened earlier in your life that was actually a big thing, you know, can be the smallest thing that sets off a depression, can't it? You know, you can be great one day and then something, you know, one thing, you know, it just resonates. If something's happened in your past, I don't want to go into sort of actual occurrences, but there are some things now in my life when you'd just be watching a TV program and something comes on and you just start crying because it reminds you of something that happened years ago, but it's actually totally unconnected, but there's something about it that reminds you. So, you know, at the end of the day, our mental health is just as important, if not more important, than our physical health. You know, we wouldn't ignore it if we had blood coming from our mouth, or if we had terrible pains in our stomach, or we had a big lump somewhere. We wouldn't ignore that. We'd go to the doctor and get it sorted out. But the thing about mental health is you can't see it. You can't see it. It's the way you feel. It's difficult, isn't it, to qualify. But basically, what I'm saying is, my student, she was so right. You want to get something done. If you want to get your, I don't know, you want to build an extension, unless you're an actual builder yourself, you get a builder in, don't you? You know, if you want to get your car repaired, you get a mechanic in, unless you're actually a mechanic. So this is what I'm saying to you. If what she said was right, look for a professional to help you. Now, I know it's difficult. Sometimes mental health resources at the moment, they're not brilliant, are they? You know, there's not much. I don't think mental health is acknowledged enough as a problem in society in general. So it can be difficult. If you can afford it, go privately. And if you can just about afford it, still go privately. Just get some help. You know, you can't put a price on your mental health. If you can't afford it, and it is expensive, of course, to go to a psychologist or a counsellor, there are lots of there's lots of information online that is free. There'll be support groups that you can join. There are special men's mental health. You know, if you're a man, or if you're suffering from postnatal depression, because all these different types of depression, there'll be specialist help groups online that you can join. You can even meet up, etc. So there is always something you can do, whether there are actual national health resources in your area, or whether you have the money or not. There are things that you can do that are free, and anything you can do if in your life, for whatever reason, you're feeling hopefully you'll go and seek help before it gets to the point where you're thinking of hurting yourself or someone else. Because I remember hearing on some crime thing that I was watching, a policeman said suicide equates with homicide as far as I'm concerned, and he said that in his experience, many people who feel the S word, I've said it again, I don't know how many people who feel that, like self-deleting, do actually take other people's lives, either with them, you know, they kill the other people and then they do it to themselves, or instead of them. So because of the way they're feeling, they go off and, you know, hurt a lot of other people, or their partner, or their children, or their family, or their friends, you know. So this is so important, because it is it's dangerous. So if you are feeling like that, and hopefully before you even get to that stage, just even if you're just feeling a bit fed up, talk to your friends, talk to your family. Not everyone has friends or family they can talk to, so you can always ring the Samaritans. I will put the link in description. You can email them, you know, that's in total confidence, and they're not judgmental, because that's the other thing as well. Sometimes it's difficult to speak to people that you know, because you don't want them to know that you're having these feelings. You don't want them to feel that you're letting them down, or they will just say, oh, you know, snap out of it or whatever, and of course you can't snap out of it. And the other thing I would say, just to finish off, also, it's not if it's you who's feeling like that, but maybe one of your loved ones is feeling like that. Now, I think there's a real problem there. There's not much support for people whose loved ones are going through that. They're always telling you, you know, in my experience on the internet, etc., they tell you everything you shouldn't say to somebody who's feeling like that. Don't say this, don't say that. They don't tell you how to actually cope with it. What should you say then? What should you say? What should you do? You know, so not just the negative advice of what you shouldn't do, because you don't know what to do most of the time because you're not a professional. We need more advice, I think, about what you should do and how you should react when somebody is expressing those thoughts, etc. What should you do? Okay, so, oh, and then as I was researching this, I found that May is actually Mental Awareness, Mental Health Month. I didn't know that, so that ties in well. But the reason I decided to do this video was purely because of comments that I've received over some of the videos I've done lately, and people, you know, as I say, sharing their own feelings. You know, there's a lot of things can cause bad mental health. It could be money worries, it could be relationship worries, it could be unresolved issues from the past. It could just be, you know, you get up one morning and you feel off and you don't even know why. Everything's brilliant in your life, but you just don't feel good about it. Another recommendation, and a bit more, is get a dog. That's because, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but I'll tell you what, my dogs as well, they help me so much because they're just so happy all the time. So it's hard not to look at them and see them so happy and not feel at least a little bit happy. If you can't get a dog, a cat, a kitten, you know, all those things that take your mind off it, and you just see how happy they are just to have food, water, toys to play with, love from you. You know, they don't need a lot, do we? Don't need a lot in our lives. You know, we shouldn't always be looking for the bigger car and the better house and the this, that and the other. It doesn't matter. None of it matters, because none of that will make you happy. You've only got to look at famous people and their children, things, and the issues that they all have. It's not a money thing. It's a state of mind thing. And it's difficult. Every day is a challenge. I think I might have mentioned in another video, and I need to do a video about that, about mindfulness. You know, when you just, all you have is this moment. You can't think ahead, or what's going to happen later today, or what's going to happen tomorrow, or think about what happened yesterday or last week. The only moment that you really actually have is now, in this moment. And that's the moment that you have to seize. Okay, I've got that off my chest. You know, when I get these things, I just have to say them. And, you know, while they're fresh in my mind. So I hope that's helped one of you out there to just... And I will, as always, see you very soon in the next video. And until then, you must love and live and look after your mental health very carefully. And I will see you soon in the next video. And may your God go with you. Thank you for watching.